This is Dedrick Martin, superintendent for Caledonia Community Schools. So we're going to go ahead and get started now. We have a number of participants, and as you can see, we are doing a lot of learning on the fly, or at least I am, and we're testing out new technology for the purpose of this and moving forward. With that being said, I want to quickly review some of the we can go to the next slide. I want to review some of the norms for the meeting. First, starting out, we're going to ask everyone, just for the purpose of making this efficient for everyone, given the number of people that we have, please keep your microphone off so that we can mute any background noise. Also, in the bottom left corner, you should see a video icon on your screen. We ask that if you're not a central office administrator, please click off your video feature. The central office administrators will be assisting me as needed to answer some questions. Also, just because of the sheer number of people that we have that will have questions, you will find a chat icon. I have someone who's going to serve as the moderator at the end of the meeting to start answering or asking questions that I or my administrative team will start to answer to the best of our ability. You can give us a thumbs up with various emojis if you like, to let us know how we're doing, or if this is clear for you. This is designed to be a 1-hour meeting. We may go a little bit past that as we had a little bit of technical difficulty getting started, but we want to try to answer all the questions that we can, and if we can't get through all of the questions, what we will do is a frequently asked questions update at a later point. So first, I want to start out with an explanation of the upper level or the high level points of the governor's executive order and some important timelines. So as you know, Thursday, sometimes Thursday, we got a 17-page executive order filled with a lot of legalese that we are continuing to plow through from the governor's office. Essentially, it's closing schools for the remainder of the year. And so there's a number of things that school districts such as ourselves are working through. One is there is a continuity of learning plan that came out yesterday afternoon, and it's due within the next 5 days to the ISD. These plans must be approved at the ISD level, and they must be consistent with the governor's executive order. The other thing, once these plans are approved, they will then be submitted to the Michigan Department of Education as well as the Michigan Department of Treasury. All districts are required to begin implementing some type of distance learning plan no later than April 28th. Some key points of this plan, and so this is our version of maybe trying to break down 17 pages of orders and legalese. The big focus is on the health, safety, and wellness of our students and our educators as our top priority. Certain rules and laws pertaining to K-12 education just does not make sense in our new context. So with that being said, there have been a number of laws that have been changed or relaxed that was within the governor's power, but there are still hundreds of laws that are on the books, quite honestly, that has not been addressed, and maybe they will be addressed later. So we'll get into that a little bit later. It's important for people to understand that the teaching and learning mode of delivering instruction will look very different over the next several weeks. Additional interventions and services will be provided when school reopens in the fall, meaning that what you're going to hear later, for some students, it's going to be outstanding. For others, maybe not so much, and we understand that that may create some additional needs that will need to be addressed at a later date when we return to a traditional teaching and learning fashion. Most importantly for seniors or parents of seniors, if your student was on track to graduate, we are making provisions to make sure that they get what is necessary to meet the graduation requirements. Some graduation requirements are being relaxed either at the state or the district level. And if your student is a little bit behind, we are making provisions for credit recovery. And we'll get into that a little bit later as well. So I think what's important to know is you saw some information similar to this coming out before. And before the governor made the executive order, we had already started working behind the scenes as a district and started working with our teachers union leadership, just in the anticipation that we don't know how long this stay home, stay safe order will be in place. Initially, the governor's order said that we would be closed for a 3-week period of time. It happened to coincide with our spring break. So the very initial thinking was, you know, we'll lose 3 weeks worth of instruction, and then we'll be right back at it after spring break. Within about a week, just with the changing information that continues to evolve every day, it was becoming clear in our minds that things could last longer than initially anticipated. And so we started to work behind the scenes with a number of things that I'm going to speak to. So I won't read off this list because we'll cover these items in the presentation. And I want to have some plenty of time at the end for our participants to ask questions. So we're making a conscious decision to shift from enrichment to what we call distance or online learning. And this is, you're going to hear me use the term asynchronous distance learning, and I'm going to explain what that means. But currently, what do we mean when we say enrichment? This has been resources and information that has been put out on our website or emailed directly to your students as optional things that they can do to keep the mind sharp. It was focused on review of previously learned information, not new content. So the hope was that all kids were previously exposed at some point to the things that they're being asked to do. It was all ungraded, and we had teachers with a short view mindset that we would be back in a couple weeks based on the original order from the governor. We just asked teachers to jump in and start looking for resources and opportunities that our parents and our students could use. So we had a lot of teachers who jumped in and did some great things. But what we saw is there were many different platforms being used. So it was multiple and random use of online opportunities. And so what we also realized with our students is that in some cases, students or parents were having to try to learn and figure out new and different systems to take advantage of. So what are we doing about that? Realizing that this was going to possibly be extended and then having that confirmed Thursday by the governor, we took our plans and we put them, we're working through them at warp speed now, if you will. And so we're moving to an asynchronous distance online learning platform. And that is, we're going to modify the curriculum to the grade and curriculum standards that's appropriate. And we're really going to focus on the essential learning necessary over the next several weeks as we close out the school year. The other thing we're going to do is move to a unified common technology platform. So I'm going to speak about that a little bit later. We are working through how we're going to do grading and credit accrual for students at the high school level, as well as elementary. And we are also working with our teachers or our teachers will be working to tailor some of the instructional content to meet the individual learning needs of our students. So, what is it that we mean when we say asynchronous learning? Essentially, asynchronous learning is a form of educational instruction that does not appear or occur in the same place or at the same time. So previously you heard our past governors say that learning should be anytime, any place, anywhere, any pace. That's what we mean by asynchronous learning. With that, if you are a secondary student, typically they have a first period class, then a second period, then a third period, maybe they do lunch, and then a fourth and a fifth. We realize that in this environment, not only our students, but our parents are being forced to quickly adjust to a new reality. So we have parents who are working at the same time that their children would normally be expected to be in school. And so they're trying to do double duty to do their work as required in an online fashion, and then maybe support their kids in an online fashion. And so in an asynchronous model, we will have new content and assignments available every week. And so the new content will start on Thursday, April 23rd. The kids will have about a week to complete a number of assignments. The instruction is not linear, so this allows families to adjust the schedules that may work best. So for example, maybe as parents, and I know my wife, she's been working online remotely for years. She has a set amount of hours that she needs to be at work. And for her, she is not able to just detach and do what she wants. She has conference calls and various meetings that she's involved in online. So with that, given that example, it may be better for the family structure for us to allow our kids to do some things that they can do independently during the times that we are traditionally working, and then we can work on things in the evenings or set up the schedule that works best with families. So we feel that the asynchronous model will be better for everyone. It still allows the students to get new content. Staff will establish office hours, just like you would see at a college or a university setting, where if parents want to reach out or send emails, maybe staff members or parents are connecting via phone. We are going to ask our staff to try to respond to families by email or phone within a 24-hour period. That will be Monday through Friday, because many of our staff members are doing the same thing. They are trying to teach in a remote fashion. They're trying to learn how to, they understand the content, but now they're trying to learn or look for opportunities to deliver it in an online fashion to students in a way that they can understand it. And many of the staff members have children of their own that they need to educate. So by doing it this way, it allows us all to create the schedule that works best, but ensure that learning will continue. There will be opportunities where staff members will be able to reach out to students for one-on-one or small group virtual sessions if needed. And the platform that we will be using is a Google Classroom platform with assignments and discussion boards. We know that some of our teachers have been using Zoom, and there's probably about 10 different things out there that teachers are using. In some cases, they'll be able to bring some of these things into it. While Zoom is popular, we realize that if you have been paying attention to the news, there are some things that are occurring where Zoom sessions are being hacked and things are being inappropriately shared with students by people who may be outside of our system. So we feel that this is better, it's more consistent. So when our teachers and our students and our families learn how to function in the Google Classroom platform, we feel that that will provide a level of consistency, and then we're not focusing on learning a new program or a new system, but we're really focused on learning new content, and we're focusing on understanding. So that's what we mean by going to an asynchronous model. How are we going to make this shift? So doing this shift, we're going to be using the Google Classroom platform. We have sent out a survey that you should have received sometime yesterday, or if you haven't, you'll be receiving it really soon from your building administrative team. And we are asking parents to please complete this survey online as fast as possible, because what we're looking for is we're trying to determine the needs of our students and our families who may need a digital device. And our district has a number of Chromebooks that we have gotten ready to deploy to families because, again, we realize that some parents are working and maybe both parents are working remotely, and maybe you have 2 devices at home or 3 devices, but you have 3 devices and you have 4 kids, and everybody is working remotely. There's a need for more devices. And so we are going to meet that need, but we need some information from our families. And we also realize that some people, they don't have a device, and they may not even be able to participate in this online. So by having our buildings send out the surveys, our administrators and teachers will be able to look through this and see if we are missing students so that we can reach out to them maybe in a telephone call or an email or whatever way we can to make sure that we get them connected with learning devices. The other thing is internet access. In our community and across the state, and if you're looking at information that you're seeing at the state and national level, it's pretty clear that there's a digital divide. From a national perspective, we're hearing about 17% of the families either don't have internet access devices or both. And in some cases in our own community, we realize that some of our students and even our staff members, we're finding out they live in areas where the internet access is not high-speed internet access, and in some cases it's very spotty, or they just don't have it at all, or we have families who can't afford the monthly services for internet access. We realize there are some providers out there who are offering things for free. Some of them are offering it for free for a few months, and then there's going to be an ongoing cost. And so we're trying to determine that need for our students and our staff. So again, the survey is very important. You should have already received it. We're asking everyone to take this survey as fast as possible. I did it myself this morning. It takes about 2 minutes to complete, but it'll allow us to be efficient in our deployment of Chromebook devices for the students and the families who need it so that they can participate in the online learning platform. And for those who just don't have internet access at all, we are looking at ways that we can address that. We have reached out to a number of vendors, and I can tell you from the county, the state, and the national level, what we're hearing from a lot of vendors, there's a huge demand for wireless hotspots. And so, and the latest that I heard was that there's a huge backlog that will take several weeks for us to get some of the orders in. So we're still working on that. I just heard of a new contact this morning that I'm going to reach out to see if we can get some devices, if necessary, to deploy that for our students and our staff members. But please, if you can take that survey really fast, that will be very helpful for us. And again, we will be tailoring to the needs of students. And so that's moving me to point 2, professional development for our teaching staff. As soon as we return from spring break, we will begin professional development for our teaching staff. We have some staff members, and we sent out a survey yesterday, and we're already seeing that we have some staff members who are already using Google classrooms. They're pretty adept with it, and so they're going to assist us to be what we call a Google master to help support our teachers and maybe our students and families if necessary, and as we move to this new platform. But we want to do it in a way that's consistent. We're also reorganizing the way we work as an instructional team. So giving you an example, let's say I'm a 5th grade teacher. And things are going well, but we know that COVID-19 will play havoc throughout our country. if something comes up where maybe my device is not working, or maybe I'm struggling with illness, or a family member is struggling with illness, then me as a teacher, all of my students may be negatively impacted as I work through my own home life situation. So what we're doing across the system is grouping our teachers so that we share similar work and content, and our teachers will be working together in grade level bands, and there will be an administrator assigned to assist them at each grade level. At our secondary level, it will probably be by department or teams, but we'll be working in groups so that if we run into any internal situations within our own organization, we're able to keep the learning and keep the information coming in a consistent fashion for our students. So we're trying to think differently and work differently in every way so that we can provide a consistent continuity of learning for our students. We're going to be establishing expectations for learning, and that's what will determine how grading will be determined, and what are the critical things that we want our students to learn. So in some ways, we will not be covering the full breadth of curriculum the way we would if students were with us face-to-face, because we realize that in some cases, we may have to create individual paper pencil packets for kids to learn. So we're going to focus on what's essential and understand. Before I talked about earlier, we know that we'll have to do some work when we return to help our kids get caught up and get remediated. But I hear from a lot of people, our kids are falling behind. And when I ask them, falling behind who? Because the entire state, the entire country, and even other countries are out of school right now. We're all in the same thing together, but we will get through it. We have a good track record of academic success, and we're going to find a way to get through this and provide some quality instruction for our students. So the collaboration and consistency across our system is going to be important to produce sustainability of learning and sustainability of information to our families and to our students. So please give us a little bit of time to work with our teachers, because while they're great on content, some are great with online information already. Others need some support, and we need to make sure that we put that in place for our staff. District learning plans. So in terms of what we must do and will do as required by the 17-page executive order, we have to do what we call distance education. We are doing it in an online platform because we think that will be the most efficient for our school district, but it will not be the only thing that we will do, because we are trying to ascertain how many of our students and staff members have some limitations. So we may have to use printed materials, books, phone calls, emails, television broadcasts, anything that we have to our disposal that we can efficiently jump into, we'll take care of that. Also, basically the plan says that we have to look at alternative modes of instruction. So I kind of talked about that. Keeping students first and foremost, and making the educational activity about the students. We're doing that. So I can tell you as adults, and even if you were here at the start of this broadcast, you can see me as a superintendent. I have a way that I like to do things, and this was maybe not my ideal way, but it's not about what I want. It's about trying to get the information and focus on what our students need. And so with that, we're going to stay student focused with our educational activities and opportunities. We're going to deliver the content in multiple ways so that we can help all the kids be able to access the learning. And then we're going to be monitoring what's going on with our kids. And we'll do that in various ways. And not so much monitoring so that we can say this kid is not getting it in a negative way, but monitoring to make sure that our kids are learning, they are moving forward. And if there are some gaps developing, we want to be as efficient and recognize those as soon as possible so that when we return in the fall, we can start putting plans in place to remediate those learning gaps. Here's just a list of some of the laws that have been suspended by the governor's order. Again, it's not an exhaustive list of things that have changed, but some of the things that I want to highlight for families: all state assessments have been suspended for this academic year. Third grade reading requirements. This was the year that our third graders, if they did not pass the reading test, they were going to be retained according to the state law. That has been suspended for now. We have a requirement that in some cases, if we run school, but we have less than 75% attendance, that day does not count, meaning that we will lose funding for that day of school. That has been required because everyone is moving to an online fashion, and the state doesn't have a model to deal with online learning across the system in the way we're being asked to do. We do have online learning opportunities in a limited capacity at the high school level. We have been looking to expand what we do anyway, but just so everyone knows, those pieces of the law has been suspended for now. Seniors. If you're a senior and you saw my last communication, or if you didn't, I'm telling the class of 2020, expect to graduate. You have been working hard for the last 12 plus years, and we recognize that. Our heart goes out to you for what you're being asked to deal with, because a lot of us, we look forward to these milestones. We will make sure that we do everything possible to make sure that our seniors graduate on time. With that being said, if you are already on pace to graduate, you should feel at ease. It's not going to be a free ride. You're going to have some work that you still have to do, but as long as you are participating and doing what you're asked to do, you will graduate. We don't know about the graduation ceremony right now, so I haven't changed or I haven't announced new dates. Of course, we would like to have some type of ceremony. We may have to modify that ceremony, but we can't do that until the stay home, stay safe order has been lifted. So with that in mind, graduation and other milestone senior events, we are thinking of ways to modify, change, and when it will occur. And we still are hopeful that these things will be able to occur, but just know that we have your best interest in mind. We'll try to figure this out. Once final decisions have been made, I promise you, you will get some communication from your high school and possibly me as well about things that have been finalized. But there's a lot of discussions going on behind the scenes, and as we get clarity, we'll let you know. Credit recovery, we always have a few seniors who, unfortunately, they get serious like right around the last 2 trimesters, and they're really trying to work to get some credits taken care of. We're exploring what your options are. Your high school will make that known to you very soon. Juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, we realize that the state has made some changes. There's some district level changes that we can make as it pertains to graduation credits that you need. You have more time, obviously, to get these things taken care of, but we will communicate that information as time go by. Again, with senior students, we're looking at the following things. This is not an exhaustive list. This is not finalized, but some of the things we're considering is awarding credits for everything done up to March 11th. We're looking at what it means for final exams and how that will be taken care of. And we're also looking at any other thing necessary as it pertains to either state or district requirements for you to graduate. The one thing that the state has let us know is that the civics requirements has been suspended. So I'm sure there are probably some seniors who are happy to hear that information. Going back to state exams, SATs will be administered sometime in the fall. We do not have an exact date. We don't know the exact process. We're hearing possibly in October, but again, things haven't been finalized. Once things become clear, we'll let people know. So for those who are junior and you're looking to take the SAT test and hoping to get a great score, which we know you will, to get into the college of your choice, keep studying, keep getting prepared for the SAT. And now you don't have an excuse to not do a great job because you got more time to get prepared, and you're not behind anyone else because this is in place for everyone across the state as well as across the country. PSAT, we're told that will probably be administered sometime in the fall. That is not going to be done in a negative way. It's really done for us to look at what our students need to get better as they get ready to take the SAT test heading into their junior year. So expect some information to come out later once it's finalized about PSAT and SATs being administered in the fall. Special education, we have a number of families and students who have specific IEP needs, and the state has made it clear, as well as federal guidelines, that it was part of our plan anyway. We're not going to be forced to do what's right, and so in that sense, we're going to make every reasonable effort to implement the IEPs as they're written, as much as appropriate given the circumstances that we're in. We don't want to endanger the lives of students or staff members, so obviously we have to be mindful of the social distance order to stay home and stay safe. But every modification that we can in our new learning, distance learning platform, we are looking at how we can provide instruction in the best way possible to meet the IEP needs of these students. We'll be following the MDE and the federal guidelines that continue to come out. We will be making determinations regarding compensatory services if needed and as needed once the traditional school year resumes. Building and facility access. So according to the governor's order, all buildings are to remain closed until this is lifted. The governor can lift this order at any time, but I don't expect her to change it and school will resume this year. But if that happens, that's up to the governor. It's not up to us as a district. Encouragement for others, everyone to stay away. As I have come in myself to make sure the most basic of things are going forward in our district, I do see a lot of people out in some of our fields, and we're not taking a hard line to keep people out of it, but if it's a locked facility, please honor and respect that. If you are out on our fields, just understand that we're asking everyone to follow the governor's order and practice social distance guidelines and stay safe, because we need to slow down the spread of COVID-19, and the more we can follow these guidelines to slow down the spread, the greater the likelihood that we will be able to return to life as normal as soon as possible. Parents and students will be allowed to pick up materials and equipment. And so just understand that a plan is forthcoming from each building. I've seen drafts of the plan. It is still under review and being developed, but we are making plans, and we have received some guidance from the Kent County Health Department on doing it in a way where we can minimize social contact and practice social distance guidelines. So it will be a tiered process on how parents and students will be allowed to get into the buildings and what they'll be allowed to do. So just look for detailed information to be coming out from your building in the next days, or I'm not sure exactly when it's going to come out, but I did see the draft. I know they're working on it, so it's getting close. We'll let you know. Food service, I'm extremely pleased to report that I know this number is probably several thousand shy, but as of Tuesday of this week, we served over 18,000 meals and counting. We are going to continue to serve meals at the Duncan Lake facility Monday and Thursdays, 11 through 1. Also, the YMCA has identified a location at the north end of our town, which is very close to Dudden Elementary. I believe it is at the Railtown Brewery. They're serving meals there. You can find this information on our district website. And we also have an interactive link showing several other Kent County food distribution centers around the region. So as we find out more information, please keep going to our website so that you can see the most recent and updated information. Bond and millage elections. This is something that I've been receiving some information or questions about, and certainly, I want people to understand that we're not completely oblivious to what's going on. We have a ballot proposal coming up May 5th. And while we're dealing with the present, we realize that we also have to plan for the future. We do not plan or see that we will be in a stay home, stay safe mode forever. And as such, we had received a ton of information that we're going back and forth from the state secretarial office regarding what will happen with the May 5th ballot. But we made our decision. We started having public meetings well before COVID-19 became an issue. And so there's some information on our website about this. But what we want people to know right now is that on May 5th, there will be an operating millage as well as a school bond. Both of these are designed to keep our schools strong and keep our schools safe. Both are renewals or extensions which do not require a raise in taxes. So that's important for people to understand, and even if it doesn't pass, it's not like the tax rate will drop. But we have more information on the way. We are going to do some additional town hall meetings to speak specifically on this issue of the upcoming bond and millage, because there's a lot of detailed information that or questions people may have. But I wanted to focus on the teaching and learning side first, because that's most important. But just understand that we'll have at least 2 additional town hall meetings just to deal with this issue. And you should receive, if you haven't already, information in your mail from the state about registering to vote and doing that via absentee ballot. We encourage you to get registered as soon as possible. We encourage you to vote as soon as possible via absentee ballot because given the situation, we know that our clerks are going to need more time to process the votes and also just to do it in a way that's safe for them. So we encourage you to find out how to get registered, do it soon, and vote soon so that our clerks can do their jobs in a way that's also safe for them. Young 5 programming. So some other things that we were working on behind the scenes, we've been talking about restructuring and going to K4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buildings. And part of that is we wanted to expand opportunities for our early childhood students. And so first, what you need to know is Young 5 screenings will be postponed until the fall, given our new order. Next, our early childhood team will communicate revised placement criteria to families. So look for some information to the families who've already registered. New criteria is being designed to provide some immediate clarity on where families will be placed. and also to just meet the needs of our school community. So I think these will be some positive changes that our community will like. We were getting ready to roll it out, and then we got hit with COVID-19. So just understand, look forward to some information that will be on our website and sent out to families regarding Young Fives screening, Young Fives placement criteria, and other things related to this program. Other items, I promise I'm almost done, and then we're going to open it up for questions. Sadly, again, more sadly for seniors, the Michigan High School Athletic was forced to cancel the winter tournaments that were postponed, as well as spring sports this year. Our athletic department is already looking for ways to highlight spring sports and our seniors. Coaches will be reaching out to the seniors sometime next week. Our athletes will receive a refund for fees that they may have already paid as it relates to spring sports. You can see the email there. If you need to get a refund, please use that email there. You can also go to our website and find this information in more detail. Practice equipment and uniforms, it will be returned sometime late summer. There's a number of things that we need to take care of, and obviously we can't do anything until the stay home, stay safe order is lifted. School calendars, right now we are slated to end the school year at the end of May. That has not changed. If it does change, we'll let people know. The last day of school for Emmons Lake can also be found on our website. These dates have not changed, and again, if changes are required for whatever reason, we will update the calendars and let our parents and our students know. In closing, before I open it up for questions and answers, please understand that this information is flying fast and furious. Even trying to schedule this meeting, we had to figure out how we could do it. We did some town hall meetings for our staff yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, I made the decision to create this town hall meeting for our community. And part of that is since the governor's order came out, it's just been a nonstop barrage of emails and phone calls and information that we're receiving from the Michigan Department of Education or our county officials on how we have to deal with this. So our desire is to take this mountain of information, go through it and try to condense it and turn it around and get it to you as soon as possible in a digestible format. And so I know this is a lot, but this is probably the best we could do in such a quick turnaround. Please exercise patience with our teachers as we work to instruct and train our teachers to work in a new way as we try to engage with students and families in a new way. Again, I think a lot of people think you can just flip the switch and overnight you can go to online learning in a successful way. And talking to experts who have done this type of thing, this generally takes months of planning. If you think of a traditional school year, we start looking at budgeting needs, we start looking at supplies and materials that need to be ordered for the upcoming fall. We start that process in March. So in a typical sense, we were actually getting ready to have a presentation on the budget to our Board of Education and start talking about staffing changes for next fall. We got hit with this COVID-19 news, and we're given essentially 5 days to come up with a detailed plan on how we're going to switch to online learning and guarantee that our students are learning. Colleges and universities can do this a lot easier because most of them have some type of online platform and they're dealing with adults. We're dealing with students and families from 3 and 4 years old up to students with special needs who are 26 years old. So since they're not adults, this is different for them. And we are so used to the face-to-face interaction and That's what our teachers have done for years. So they are working hard, trust me, to do the best they can for you. That is our commitment to support our school community or our community in general any way we can. And as I said before, expect additional town hall meetings specifically on the issue of the bond and the millage in the very near future. And so once those dates and times have been established, we will send that out to our family and we will post that on our website. I'm going to take a drink, and then my moderator will get started with the question and answers. And because we had some technical difficulties to start, we won't end it exactly at 2 o'clock. We'll probably go to about 2:20.
So Dr. Martin, a lot of the questions I've been able to answer in the chat. There are a lot of questions. I'm just going to ramble off a bunch that we do not have answers for, but they're all great questions, and they are ones that have been part of the conversation. So should we expect the current timeline for in-district transfers for incoming kindergartners, or will that be delayed? That's on the conversation. I don't know if anyone has a topic.
So for incoming kindergarten students and anybody who's registered, this year we actually switched to an online process. So you can register your kindergarten student or any student who lives in the Caledonia community. If you are a Caledonia student already and you're seeking a transfer, that transfer window is up, is all an online process. So you can continue to do that. What will be delayed is any acceptance of schools of choice kids. We are developing an online process for schools of choice applications, but we do not accept students via schools of choice until we make sure that all of our Caledonia residents, internal students are taken care of first. That includes registration as well as transfers.
Okay. I know we focused a lot on seniors, but we had some questions about just 8th grade promotion ceremony and 5th grade, and just want to let parents and community members know that that is also part of our discussion on trying to do that and be creative and still make it be a special event. So
yes.
More to come on that. Some of the programming questions asked about project-based learning for 2021 at CHS. Haven't had any discussions yet, but that all of this is on the conversation upcoming. Can you define devices? If a student has an iPad, is that sufficient? So I wrote down, I wasn't sure.
So if a student has an iPad and they feel comfortable using it, that's fine. And you can identify that in the survey. If you need a Chromebook, for web-based learning, any laptop, home computers can work, but if you have an iPad device, you can use that. But if you prefer or need a Chromebook, please let us know. And we ask people, if you don't need one, please don't ask for it, just because, one, we want to take care of those who really need it, and then two, it's going to take our staff some time to make sure that we get this deployed, and we know that there's going to have to be some direct interaction for us to get it out to you or have parents come in and get it. So with that in mind, we want to still try to minimize direct contact, but we will take care of devices, and we have enough devices for those who need it. But iPads can work too.
Awesome. I just want to introduce myself quickly. Kristen Flynn, Executive Director of Student Achievement. So some of you may not have seen my face around. I literally started about 8 days ago. So this has been a real fun start.
But Kristen, I think it might be important to understand that Kristen comes to us with a lot of years of experience in public education. As a teacher, she has been an administrator at the elementary, middle, and high school level. She has been a curriculum director, and she is also, in the last 5 years, she served as the director of Michigan Virtual. So she does understand the complexities of online learning. So I kind of gave a quick bio for her, but I think that lets you know that we do have some of the we have some people with expertise on how online learning should develop.
So a lot of these questions are questions about a lot of systems, like when are we going to be able to get into locker rooms or to get lockers. We are working on a schedule, and we'll have that out soon on when people, again, with safety in mind, can access the building. That most likely will be, or will be, after spring break time. In terms of 7th graders and their math placement, we've got questions about placements for next year. All of that is to be determined.
And Kristen,
yep.
I'm sorry, I got a message from my tech director that if you have an iPad and you're trying to use that amongst multiple students, that may not meet your needs. So if you have one iPad for 2 or 3 kids, you probably want to indicate in your survey that you would need a Google Chromebook, and we'll get that for you. Sorry for the interruption.
No, that's great. Good news. Information, this is how it comes out quickly. So fall sport tryouts, how are those going to work for the high school? That's going to be Michigan High School Athletic Association directed. Don't know yet.
They're telling us that they will send out some information in the next couple weeks about what this means for fall sports, but obviously they can't do anything until after the order is lifted. So once that information is out, we will send that out to our community. And again, I can't stress enough, keep checking our website every day, because anytime we have some updates, it will go up there.
So this one is about just the weekly lessons. Is it possible for teachers to do some recorded instruction, and so that we can help parents understand objectives and the correct way to solve questions? That will be part of the training, is helping teachers who don't already know how to do that create a video or show an example on their screen so that we can give guidance to that. I know that has been a large part of our discussion, and we've heard a lot from families, and we have a lot of staff members who are, again, trying to instruct from afar and also homeschool their own children as well. And so we do hear you, and we are really cognizant of the stress that this current situation is putting on families. So we are trying to do everything we can with that lens in mind. There was a question about the senior all-night gathering. That is not a school function, but a parent function. But I know that the high school administration was going to make sure that that group was communicating out what the feasibility was of options. I don't know in terms of the payment. I'm not sure on that. This PowerPoint will be accessible on the website afterwards, according to Michelle. Dr. Martin, is that correct?
We got to look at that. We were hoping to have a recording of this accessible, and so that is our preferred method. If not, we will make the PowerPoint available.
Okay. Let me look at the chat window. More questions are coming in. For our elementary students, will online instruction include specials like music and Spanish? That is some of the details not yet worked out, but we probably do. What we do anticipate is some things from each of those specials areas that students and families could do. Perhaps it's a recorded YouTube channel of phys ed activities and a weekly video of things that students could do, or demonstrations and etc. That is, again, not worked out yet, just been high level discussion. And if there are any elementary teachers on the call, they're probably hearing about that for the first time today. What about high school band camp? Haven't had any discussion. We'll add that. Do parents request the Chromebook in the email survey? So the plan is that we sent the survey out, and again, we really appreciate people filling that out as soon as possible. We actually have people on the back end summarizing that very quickly so that we can then, based on that survey, send out a link and a form and access for for families to get a Chromebook, is my understanding. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So more to come on that within the week. In terms of seniors getting credit for third term, right now there is a lot of discussion with other districts who are in a trimester situation in a large district like us, and we don't have whether that will be, quote, credit or whether that will be the actual grade. More information will be coming out, but I know that the high school administration has been meeting with both county and then across the state through the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals group. And so we should have more information out about that as well soon.
Yes, and I am working with superintendents across the state. We're trying to all look at answering that same question.
Oh, I love this one. I don't know how we'll do this with personal emails, but messages, but a student, parent saying his son wants to write letters to teachers. Is there a way to get a written letter to teachers instead of sending an email? A written card and just encouragement. So we'll work on that and see what we can do to try to make that happen. That's awesome.
What I will say that may be possible, if they write a letter and they send it to the school and address it to the teachers, we do have a very small number of staff members who have access to get into the building. It'll probably take a little time for the letter to get there, but at least maybe the building administrator can make the teacher aware that they have a letter and get it to them that way.
In terms of information about summer programming and daycare with the YMCA, I don't know if we've talked about that. Anybody have any updates on that?
So I've been in contact with the president of the YMCA. They are right now they are unsure. They are planning on doing it. Based on the governor's one of the previous orders, they have shifted their focus to providing child care for first line workers, so people who are in the medical field, police departments, fire, doctors, nurses, other essential people. With that being stated, they do anticipate this order being lifted and getting back to business as usual, but they don't have, or they haven't communicated yet details of what that's going to be. Very much like we are, kind of in a wait and see mode.
All right, so a question about a senior taking classes through my school at Kent through Cal, understanding that they are not allowed to take tests from home, so it's online. Normally they will be proctored at a satellite location. Can you verify whether we're doing that? And I just got a text from the high school principal that determinations are still being made in the future about online. Since they will likely not be able to report for test proctoring, guidance will be coming out in the form, it will be coming from CHS regarding this in the near future. So stand by on that. That's one of those, again, details that we're working through. For 8th graders moving to the high school, what's the best way to communicate with counselors about freshman class schedule? I think I'm going to speak for the high school staff and counselors to say, hold on, as information will be coming out as soon as we possibly can. I think the best help that you can give us is just some time and grace to get this stuff figured out, doing all of this remotely. So unless there's any other information, Dr. Martin, on that one, I'll move on. Next question, you touched on the IEPs. Will we be able to do Zoom meetings for IEPs? Yes, those have been happening already. So the ones that were due this spring, those have been happening. Those individualized education plans, meetings with staff and families, those have been happening either by phone or by video conference. Recent email from the YMCA staff said that they are still planning on summer camp, though they realize the situation is fluid right now. That was from someone there. And I think the rest of them were either answered in your presentation or I have captured that we can provide more details as we get them. There was about the child was hoping to boost their GPA, about financial aid. Again, we don't know credit or no credit. We don't know whether it's going to be grades, whether, what they currently, we don't know. We don't have any answers on that yet. I wish we did. Official start date for the kids again. There is availability of, again, enrichment content available between the 13th and the 23rd. So the 13th is the Monday, so a week from this coming Monday. And then teachers will be putting new content starting on the 23rd.
Yes, so we're just addressing that again. We're asking the parents, and there will probably be some other enrichment opportunities. We're asking parents to continue to take advantage of that and allow us the opportunity to provide some base level training for our teachers the entire week, honestly, when we get back from spring break. So they're going to have some very full days of trying to get some PD so that they are all and learning how to work together across the system. So it's going to be a pretty busy week for them. And then the following week, they'll start to post new content related to our standards and identify the most pressing things that we want our students to learn and understand to finish out this year.
Dr. Martin, this one's on the election. Question about the May election and wondering why we might not be considering pushing back to August to protect election employees and voting community that do not vote by absentee ballot.
Sure. So we had talked with our attorneys. I personally talked with, I think we had 5 or 6 different districts across our region. And all of us have some different things going on and different needs. And I'll get into it deeper later. But essentially, once it was determined that the state was going to hold elections in a different fashion and wasn't going to cancel it, and also clarity of some needed changes in the law that would have made it convenient for us to cancel, we decided that we needed to move forward because the questions on the ballot, the information under the current law would have been very problematic for our district moving forward. And we don't anticipate that the legislators are going to come back in time to make the changes to all those laws related to elections and the financial impact to our district. And so again, we'll get into that a little bit more deeper later, but I think all the districts in our county, with the exception of one who had questions on there, have all decided to move forward, and I've been in contact with them. And we all realize that it's going to be a mail-in election for the most part. And so we're asking people to register early and vote early because it's going to take the people dealing with the ballots. There's an element of safety for them, and the earlier we can do that, the better it is for them.
I think this was a great suggestion that we haven't even had yet, but would you be willing to do one of these with senior parents when more information is available?
Sure.
Right? Probably with the high school administration and counselors. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, and I'm not sure, he's probably trying to relax, but I'll put the high school principal and some counselors. We'll kind of do that together, but we'll be more than happy to do so.
Can you clarify if elementary school kid transfers to homeschool districts be delayed or canceled for next year?
Transfers to homeschool districts, that's really just them notifying and going through a withdrawal process. If we're talking about, oh, I'm sorry, I think I get it. If you are out of your current zone and you're trying to get to a school within your zone, that process is identified on our website right now. So if you go to our website, you can see kind of the timeline as well as the process and the priorities of how this will occur. But essentially, in a quick way, we take all the kids that are registered, then we look at how many seats we have available, then we look at the transfer requests, and we start moving families based on seats that are available. And we take care of that before any schools of choice students are accepted. So the process is posted, it's online, it's been part of what we've been talking about publicly since early February in some of our dialogue with Doc Martin sessions. So all that information is out there. Please go read through it. You should be able to do it online. We don't see that being held up. It's really any kid who lives outside of our district trying to get here through the county-wide schools of choice program will be the ones who are basically on hold.
All right, question about advanced placement students. We understand the current semester AP students will still have an opportunity to take the AP exam in an online format this spring through the AP board. Are the AP teachers being informed and trained on how the online exams will differ from the traditional AP exams?
So I think we probably have to ask the high school to maybe help us with that as a frequently asked question. My understanding is that college boards have information out there on this process, and I do believe, I thought the high school had already sent some information out. I could be wrong on that. So we will get with the high school to maybe try to answer that as a FAQ. But my understanding, it is a process that's controlled outside of us, and there's some information, or should be some information, that you can find when you visit the College Board websites.
Question about maintaining the traditional spring break. So I know that educators are not being trained during spring break. any other points do you want to bring up there?
So, you know,
and then we just found out the information 2 days ago, so there's some planning that require us to be ready to go.
We started working on this before the governor's order, but even with that being said, with less than 48 hours before they were, actually less than 24 hours before their spring break began, it just wasn't realistic or feasible for us to put a quality professional development plan in place for teachers. And so, and quite honestly, we know our families are struggling right now trying to educate their kids at home and trying to work themselves. But our teachers, we have many of them, and you know, myself as a professional and my wife, we're doing the same thing that you guys are doing, you know, trying to help our kids with whatever activities they're doing, but having our work obligations. So it just wasn't feasible for us to do it. It was already contractually set up. And so we want our teachers to be able to unplug, because the next 6 to 8 weeks is going to be a marathon sprint for them. And we need to we need to respectfully do our part to get them prepared and ready for the number of questions and the changing environment that they're being asked to do. So we're asking them to unplug. Even with that said, we already know that some of our teachers are already trying to go in and take a peek at the things that we have set up for them, and that's fine for those teachers. But we're also asking them to work together. So,
Martin, we also have to have our distance learning plan approved by the ISD before we start training staff.
Exactly.
And that we just got the template yesterday, so that has to be completed and approved before we can move forward.
Good point.
My daughter's a senior, part of Glenmore. She does her work through Michigan Virtual. How will her continued learning look? Again, I think that'll be a question we'll have to Q&A through, specifically individualized from the high school staff. IEP teams, special ed teachers, will they meet with parents about individual plans by the 23rd? I think it depends on when the IEP deadline is. I don't know that those will all be done by the 23rd.
Yeah, my understanding is we don't have to go and have an IEP meeting for the sake of changing it. We will try to provide and modify the instruction as close as we can, given the limitations we have with stay home, stay in place. But if the IEP meeting was already scheduled or needed to occur, as it was a 3-year annual or something like that, we will make provisions, and they are moving forward with IEP meetings in a remote fashion.
Any consideration being given to extending distance learning into June to make up for lost days of instruction, or engaging parents on whether they would support extending distance learning into June?
No, the state has shared with us we are required to have distance learning in place by the 28th. I think we shared that we are going to be able to meet that deadline, as we were already working towards that goal just in the event of something like this. And as long as we can do that, the days that were previously missed, although it's more than what we typically get with snow days, the state is saying if we have a plan in place that's active and approved, then we can stick to our traditional calendars.
That was the last one in the chat window. And again, they were coming fast and furious, so I apologize if I missed your question. We will make sure we have all the questions archived here, so we will make sure that they end up in our frequently asked questions that we will work on to make sure we get out to families.
All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and close out. I apologize for the technical difficulty at the beginning, but as you can see, this is new learning for us, and as we try to master and figure this out, we'll provide that new learning for our teachers as well, and we'll be working with our students and families so that we can all work together on the same platform. I think I want to end this by saying to everyone, you know, in times like this, you know, I am one who definitely, I'm pro-education. You know, learning is important to me. High standards is important to me. But I think the most important thing that we all need to focus on is tending to the social, emotional mental health and well-being of each other. So with that in mind, we are going to do our part to make sure that your kids are prepared in their learning. We understand that we won't be perfect. We understand that our teachers won't be perfect, but we are asking for your patience, your understanding, and your grace. We're going to do everything we can to provide a high quality education. You're going to hear some information coming out soon about what we have done just this past year, as the new state report card was poised to come out maybe a few days after the governor's announcement, and so that has been postponed. But essentially, we've had a good track record of great academic performance, and last year was no exception, and actually we saw some nice improvements. We are committed to a high quality educational environment for our students, but I think right now, the most important thing is we tend to our seniors, because we understand how difficult this is going to be for our seniors. It's important that we tend to the needs of our students and our families and to each other, and focus on the important things of health and wellness. Get outside if you can, and take in fresh air, be safe, but also practice social distancing. Don't risk your health. Don't risk the health of your loved ones, your family members, because the sooner we can get past this, the sooner we can get to life as normal. So thank you again for your patience. Thank you again for your support. We will have some specific sessions for bond and millage. We will also have a session for our high school seniors and parents to deal with those questions as well. But just know here in Caledonia Community Schools, we are here for you. We're going to do our part to support you. But we are Caledonia Community Schools. And as a community, when things get tough, we pull together stronger, not splinter apart. So we are going to focus on what we need to do today, but we're also going to move forward and plan for the future. So with that, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the weekend, and also enjoy spring break. Thank you.